Yo, 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 ladies and gentlemen, it is day 30 of the government shutdown. And my homeboy, Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, and a few of his colleagues are going to talk about that this morning. And let me just go on record and say that I believe that our Lord in heaven knew that this day was coming, and he knows the Democrats are evil as hell, and I believe that through the Lord, he will give the President of the United States, Donald Trump, the wisdom and the ability to make the payments to our military, our air traffic controllers, and to make sure that our babies and our baby mamas get those food stamps and get the WIC and get the things that they need to take care of their households. I just believe it's going to happen. And I think President Trump is going to use the tariffs. He's over in Asia, on his way back from Asia right now. He's been to Korea and Japan and met with those leaders, and all of them have shaken his hand and invested heavily into the United States. Everybody in the world knows that the United States of America is the leader, and they know that President Trump is the leader of the United States of America, and they are acting accordingly. The only people that are acting up is just a few Negroes here in the United States, and of course, there's a bunch of dumbasses that we call liberals that are acting a fool. But for the most part, America in general has awakened and seen the light. And we know who is evil and who is good. And we know what's going on in America today. Thanks to podcasts like UncleCoon, thanks to other podcasts, and thanks to the news. Fox News and some other people, even CNN and some of the other newscasts are even turning a corner because this shutdown has pissed everybody off. And everybody has come to realize who is actually the cause of it. But let's jump into this and check out Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson.
While House Democrats court Marxists in New York, Senate Democrats have chosen to shut down the government over a totally clean, nonpartisan CR. It's the first time in the history of this country, that any party has done that, has chosen, had the audacity to shut the government down over a totally clean, nonpartisan funding measure. They're bowing to the demands of their far-left base, and no one can deny that. The facts are very clear, and the American people are intelligent. They understand what's happening here. We pray that the Democrats, at least a handful of centrists, if there are any moderates left in the Democrat Party in the Senate, we pray that they will come to their senses and they will do the right thing by the American people, that they will stop all the pain, and that they will reopen the government. As I mentioned on Saturday, things are going to become very dire. There is one way out of this, the easy way, the obvious way, and that is for the Democrats to do their job and vote for the CR. Now, I mentioned we brought some of our good friends and colleagues here from New York to talk about the mess that the Democrats have created in the Empire State. Now, why are we focusing on New York? Because, again, it's a bellwether for the rest of the nation. If you're watching at home, you need to understand the dynamics of what's happening in New York, because you have to ensure that it doesn't happen in your city, in your town, in your state. And these folks are watching this, and they're fighting it. Our Republicans in New York are trying to hold the line. They're trying to defend what is great about this extraordinary and exceptional nation that we have. But they have a lot of headwinds, and they're here to share how this reckless shutdown is impacting everyday New Yorkers. And I'm delighted to bring up to the podium, before we get our leadership reports here, one of my dear friends and colleagues and classmates back from the 115th Congress when we came in as freshmen together, Congresswoman Claudia Tenney, who is from the 22nd District of New York. She does an extraordinary job here for her state and for the country. Claudia, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, and my colleagues. I actually hail from the 24th District, a little bit of we've had some redistricting in upstate New York a couple of times. But I just want to say good morning and thank you again to my colleagues for being here. This is really important. And I wish I could say that I am surprised by what we're witnessing, but this is exactly what happens when the Democratic Party surrenders to its most radical fringe. Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries lack the political courage to stand up to the Marxist, anti-Semitic, anti-law enforcement base led by Mamdani now, AOC, and Bernie Sanders. Schumer and Jeffries are both weak leaders from New York, and specifically New York City, where they have never had to face serious political opposition and have enjoyed nothing but glowing praise from their friends in the media. They are ill-suited to lead the Democratic Party at the national level, which is on dramatic display with each passing day of this tragic shutdown. They have traded true leadership for appeasement, responsibility for disorder, and principle for political survival. This shutdown is their choice. They've surrendered to radicals funded by dark money groups pushing anti-police, anti-Israel, anti-American garbage. Now the country is paying the price. I served with Hakeem Jeffries in the New York State Legislature. He sat right next to me. I've seen this playbook before, as have my colleagues in New York who also served in the legislature. It is the same corrupt Albany routine. Reward insiders, punish taxpayers, and blame everybody else. Today, it is something far worse. A movement run by socialist, Marxist activists. I don't like to call them socialists, they're really Marxist, and extremist networks, and they have hijacked the Democratic Party. And as the speaker pointed out, just look at Zohran Mamdani, a member of the State Assembly, by the way. He actually defeated a fairly liberal member of the Assembly, who is, in a narrow election, but there he is in the State Assembly. He is the face of the new far-left coalition, and make no mistake about it, the new leader of the New York Democratic Party. His campaign is not grassroots. It's bankrolled by Soros money, radical clerics, and communists working together to push a Marxist agenda in America's largest city.
Yep, ladies and gentlemen, by the way, I'm going to do a video a little bit later on that, but Mamdani, the guy that's the communist that's running for mayor of New York, has just gotten his butt in some trouble because he's taking some foreign money, and that is illegal. So we're going to take a look at that in just a minute.
Schumer and Jeffries will not stand up to this movement. We've seen this because, as the speaker pointed out, they're terrified of it. They have built their political survival on appeasing the far left, and now our entire country is being held hostage by it. They cannot open the government without angering the radicals who radically run their party. The Democratic Party is now controlled, as I said, by the Marxist activists, dark money donors. This is not a grassroots effort. And anti-American ideology is dominating this. And they would rather destroy the system than to lose power. And unfortunately, Leader Jeffries and Leader Schumer are just succumbing to this. New Yorkers are already paying the price, and we have been paying the price. From Albany's Medicaid for illegal scheme to Mamdani's socialist city agenda, working families are being crushed under taxes, mandates, and ideology. And if we don't stand up, the damage will not end at the Hudson. It will reach every corner of upstate New York and across this country. We are here to fight for the men and women who build, farm, serve, and raise families across New York and our nation. They are the backbone of this nation, and they deserve a government that works for them, not the political insiders who have created this mess. So my message to Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries is simple. Stop playing games. Stop bowing to this mob and reopen our government. Pay our troops, fund essential services, and start putting American families, and especially in my case and my colleagues here, New York families first. And my message to New Yorkers is this: stand up, speak out, reject this radicalism that has taken over not just our city, but will take over our state. And I thank you, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate the moment.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me show you my message to Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries. How about that?
Well, thank you, Claudia, and my other colleagues from New York for coming. And it's so sad to see what's happened to that great state of New York. But if you go back to November, when President Trump won an overwhelming victory to come back as president, defeating Kamala Harris, winning every one of the 7 swing states. In those months after, what you saw was this internal conflict within the Democrat Party. Who is the head of the Democrat Party? You heard it over and over. Some people were trying to raise their hand. A very, very weak bench of failed leaders, primarily governors from failed states, wanting to jump ahead of everybody else and claim the title. And yet, as the Democrat Party stayed that rudderless ship for months and months, because of this perfect storm, that the 2 top Democrat leaders in the House and Senate both hail from the state of New York, with the emergence now of Zohran Mamdani, you have seen Zohran Mamdani quickly become the new head of the Democrat Party nationally. Because Chuck Schumer, who is the head Democrat in the Senate, and Hakeem Jeffries, who's the head Democrat in the House, both hailing from New York, are scared to death of that far-left extremist, radical, socialist, Marxist movement in their own party, starting in New York. And because Mamdani has taken off there, it is affecting real people everywhere in America. Devastating consequences. We've talked about it over and over. You know, the last few weeks, we talked about the pain, the suffering that Democrats were causing to especially federal workers, our troops, air traffic controllers, every other federal worker who wasn't getting paid. Some, President Trump found ways to get paid. Others, there weren't ways to do the same thing, but the president worked overtime. Look at what the president did working overtime, at least doing his job, in China this morning. A historic trade deal with China announced, where they resolved some issues on tariffs. Our soybean farmers going to be able to sell more of their products into China.
Yeah, President Trump just did a really, really, really big deal for the farmers with soybeans. Is some billions. The president is on his job, and he said he would take care of the American farmers, and he has done that. He is doing it. And man, he just did a big deal. I'll report on that a little bit later. Let's roll.
Critical minerals that we'll be able to get. All of those things President Trump continues to do while Democrats want to try to spew chaos around the country.
Ladies and gentlemen, think about this for a second. As good a job as President Trump has done so far in only 10 months in the White House, why would the president stop his own momentum? So that right there in itself tells you that President Trump did not shut the government down. That would be crazy. That would be stupid. But it makes sense for the Democrats to shut it down because they're trying to do whatever they can do to make the president look bad, which they're doing a bad job because our president is working. He is way too fast for these guys. The Democrats are too damn slow to keep up with the president. That's like taking a damn jackass to the Kentucky Derby. The president has already run around the track twice and won the race. And the jackass is still trying to back up out of the darn trailer.
But the harm to families, as we've been talking about, while real, is unfortunately going to get worse. And we've been telegraphing this for weeks, pleading with our Democrat colleagues in the Senate. Just five Democrats need to get the courage to end the shutdown. And only they can do it. They know that. And what are those consequences? We've been talking for weeks. Coming this weekend, Saturday, 42 million SNAP beneficiaries will lose those benefits. Those cards are going to go to zero. When they go to the grocery store to try to put food on the table, there will be no money in those accounts. And what is Chuck Schumer going to tell those families? It's no longer hypothetical. It's no longer theoretical. It's real suffering and pain, and they know that. We've given you the quotes over and over these last few weeks. They admit they are causing suffering, they're using the American people for leverage, and they just don't care. But I think they're going to start hearing more and more from people. There's some people we've been hearing from. The National Veteran Advocate, his retired U.S. Army Sergeant Eric Donahoe said this, quote, "The decision to vote against advancing the CR is now causing financial harm to families who serve this country." He went on to say, quote, "When I spoke with Democratic staffers that I know they called this shutdown a political opportunity. They think the more Americans hurt, the more power they gain. They even bragged about it," Donahoe said. Quote, "This isn't a headline to us. It's rent, it's groceries, it's mental health, it's stability." And of course, you've heard just a few days ago, we had the National Air Traffic Controllers Association and the American Federation of Government Employees demanding that Democrats pass the clean CR. More and more, you're seeing this growing chorus of people from all corners, including Democrat corners, telling their own party leaders, stop this madness, end the madness, and vote to open the government. But again, this weekend, it gets even more painful, more suffering that they will impose if they keep this madness up. And so I'm going to try to find 5 Democrat senators. It's all we need is 5. So let's start with John Ossoff in Georgia. Starting this weekend, over 1.3 million enrollees in SNAP in his home state of Georgia lose their benefits. 1.3 million, Senator. What are you going to tell those families if you vote no today? If you vote to take their food away this weekend? That's what your vote means today. 109,000 federal workers in his state of Georgia. Of course, the largest airport in America is in his home state of Georgia, and they're already experiencing flight delays in Atlanta. 231,000 women, infant, and children will lose their benefits in Senator Ossoff's home state of Georgia if he votes no today. Think about them when you're casting that vote. Senator Warner in Virginia, 825,000 SNAP enrollees in his home state of Virginia. 189,000 federal workers. Don't come up here and give some speech lamenting about the hardships those people are facing when you're the one voting to impose those hardships. You can stop that today by voting yes. 107,000 women, infant, and children will lose their benefits in Virginia if Senator Warner votes no. Tina Smith in Minnesota, 452,000 enrollees in the SNAP program, 33,000 federal workers, and 101,000 women, infant, and children in Minnesota will lose their benefits if Tina Smith votes no today. Gary Peters in Michigan, over 1.4 million enrollees in SNAP. No food stamp benefits this weekend to 1.4 million Michiganders. 56,000 federal workers, 189,000 women, infant, and children will go without food this weekend in Michigan if Senator Peters votes no. Senator Sheehan in New Hampshire, 76,000 enrollees in SNAP, 9,000 federal workers, and 12,000 women, infant, and children will go hungry in New Hampshire if Senator Sheehan votes no. I could go on with more and more of these. All we need is 5. That's 5 right there. If they get the courage, they don't have to impose that pain on families. But the only way this suffering is prevented is if they come to their senses and vote yes.
Yep, ladies and gentlemen, the Democrats, we only need 5 of them to actually cross over and vote yes to open the government back up. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Democrats. And these people are crazy, for real. And they don't mind the pain and suffering from the American people. And we've seen that before. But Anyway, I appreciate y'all dropping in. Hit that like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate y'all. You know what? We got right at 7,000 subscribers, thanks to you. But anyway, I'm your host, Big Al, UncleCoon. Stop by UncleCoon.com. Get you a t-shirt. Look at that. We got some nice stuff up there. Appreciate you. We'll holler at you later. Peace. Can't touch this.
Real deal. That gal on the mic, UncleCoon in the house, dropping knowledge, stay true, no room for doubt. From debates to celebs, we cover it all. Tune in, hit subscribe, you don't wanna miss the call. Real Al, UncleCoon, bringing the heat. Every episode's fire, can't be beat. Hit that like, share the vibe. Join the fam, come along for the ride. Politics, pop culture, and everything between. Big Al's got the scoop, you know what I mean. From Harris to Trump, we break it down. Common sense talk, the best show around. Real Al, UncleCoon, bringing the heat. Every episode's fire, can't be beat. Hit that like, share the vibe. Join the fam, come along for the ride. Cash App, show some love, support the grind. Big Al's on the rise, one of a kind. UncleCoon podcast, the place to be. For real talk, real folks, and real TV. Real Al, UncleCoon, bringing the heat. Every episode's fire, can't be beat. Hit that like, share the vibe. Join the fam, come along for the ride.